Big place like this, make sure you repeat.
Well, I hope everyone's doing well on this Thursday evening. Just now getting settled in for the 500 miles around Atlanta here tonight with the Sigma Cup Series. And off to the early lead, it is Al Bunch leading right now. Chris Harvey just a couple days removed from his birthday, having a good run here up in the top three already from start. Brian DeBlanc, Rich Roy, and Andre Stefan round out your top five. The rookie on a rampage driver here tonight is none other than Trevor Vaden in the number 19. And I just prepared for the worst here tonight because my game already crashed on me once when I was doing sprint qualifiers, so in the case of that happening, I don't know what I'll do yet, but it's getting frustrating. Especially since I've been away from my computer for a whole week, I haven't touched the damn thing. So apparently if it goes dormant, its brain gets all mushy. It's just ridiculous. I did try to go in and disable more processes going on in the background, hopefully, and I know that Windows 11 updated itself about a month ago now, but we've been running just fine for the last month, at least for the last weeks that I ran it. So, as you see there, number 40, that is Carson Bowers. He came through the sprint qualifier to make the main field here. currently your points leader in Bridge to Cup with a win to his name this season. He's making some select starts here in the Sigma Cup Series and putting on a decent showing here tonight at Atlanta so far. This is not quite a crown jewel event, but pretty close to it. Marquee event, in other words. We've hosted this race pretty regularly through the years since 2010, so Atlanta's always been a pretty high-key track for our drivers to prove themselves. Kevin Xavier with the fastest lap so far. Let's look and see where he's running in the field. Wow, Dalton Scott all the way back in 21st right now. Got Tasha Wright running in 17th. There's Kevin Xavier right now running in 12th. As he's got Lewis Tross, Tyler Shangle, and Tyler Landa in front of him. Carson Bowers going on the move here for second on Ewan What Army. What Army's been on quite a tear here in the Cup side of things as he's gotten a win to his name. Currently leads the points here with these guys and gals. One win and has a 40-point lead over Bradley Ream. And I'm looking through the top 10, top 15. I don't see Bradley Ream in the top 15 right now. So has his work cut out for him. One person I haven't talked a whole lot about is the guy out front leading. We've got Al Bunch leading the way. Putting on a pretty good clinic right now with the lead. Eli the Wolf up to third there. Now the Jaguars starting to creep up towards the front. Brian DeBlanc has been solid every week here in the Sigma Cup Series and often gets struck with some bad luck. Sitting second here early on, and this one's going to be a good night for him, hopefully. Well, with our marathon just last week, we are pretty well close to caught up for the month of March. With my vacation coming up, I had to make some last-minute schedule adjustments, and we do still have a Bridge to Cup race that we got to fit in the next 4 days, which I could maybe do on Saturday. And an ARCA and a Cup race, so we still have pretty much one of each except for trucks. Trucks has been capped for the moment until April. got Braden Varga cracking his way up into the picture here. Louis Trost has managed to gain a couple spots. The lead still belongs to Al Bunch, but Carson Bowers is making a move here. Trevor Vaden up into the top 5 now. Tyler Shangle cracking into the top 10. There's a lot of ebb and flow right now as these drivers hustle and bustle for position. Al Bunch still keeping a solid lead though nonetheless. And with it being a 500-mile race here tonight at Atlanta, there's really no telling how pit strategies might play out here. There we got 3 wide for position there as a whole bunch of drivers get around Carson Bowers there. 29 also dropping backwards, it looks like. So these guys get up to the front, then get shuffled backwards. Kind of a standard, almost like super speedway rotation going on here tonight at Atlanta. And this is traditional Atlanta. In case y'all didn't notice, it is not got the super speedway package, as they're getting up to 205 miles an hour, 208 miles an hour going into the turns. So unrestricted, completely chaotic Atlanta here that we've got. Trevor Vaden now slots his way up into second. And then you've got Braden Varga up to 6th now with Tyler Shangle right in front of him. The more they race side by side here, that's only allowing Al Bunch to drive away further from the rest of the field. got our first caution of the night, and it looks like it involves the number 7 of Tyler Landa, who at the time is running in 29th. Oh, he gets clipped by Tristan Reams and goes into the wall there pretty hard. Turn 3. Ooh, and Nate Newman just narrowly missed the 7 car there. Wow, Matthew Fastnot, the winner at the last race around Irwindale, running 39th here tonight so far. So it might be a long night for Matthew Fastnot. So first round of pit stops here under caution for the first time tonight. Looks like Al Bunch is going to rejoin the field with the lead here. Second, Eli the Wolf. Trevor Vaden, Dalton Scott jumps from 20th up to 4th. Brian DeBlank in 5th. Tyler Shangle 6th. Tyler Aspinall 7th. Bradley Ream up into the top 10 now as he sits 8th. Tasha Wright 9th. Excuse me. And Ewan Woodarmy in 10th. Jacob Shangle, Monty Shangle, Lewis Trost, Lynn Farrell, and Lucas Holmes rounding out your top 15. Looks like Tyler Landa is going to rejoin the field with the lead lap still. And so we'll take a brief Sigma side-by-side as we're under caution here. Don't go anywhere, folks. The racing action will resume shortly. Okay, that is kind of wild. They're showing Al Bunch and Eli the Wolf both the black flag from the lead here. Not sure I understand if they might have had a pit stop malfunction, maybe speeding on pit road. Huh. Wild. So we'll see what happens on the restart. I think they're going to serve a penalty for that black flag. Right out of the first round of pit stops here today, that could potentially shake things up a little bit, as that would hand the baton over to Trevor Vaden and Dalton Scott if they have to serve a penalty. Yeah, you're seeing this all live, folks. I don't know what the heck's going on, but they were trying to serve their black flag penalty, at least the 94 was, and that caused one wild transaction there through the field. Chalk this up to some more NR2003 shenanigans, as this just doesn't happen in real life. Al Bunch has yet to still serve his black flag penalty. If he doesn't serve it soon enough, they could penalize him and disqualify him for the race. Yeah, Tasha just got into the 94 there. And honestly, Courting Brothers Motorsports was the unlucky beneficiary of all the chaos here, as the 50 as well of Tom Courting had made contact with the 94 of Eli the Wolf. Right there, bam! Hard hit for both Courting Brothers Motorsport entries. Man, guys, I do not understand. I swear it has something to do with my computer, and this thing is now black flagging just about everyone in first and second. And now Brian DeBlank being shown a black flag. Al Bunch still has yet to serve his black flag. This is beyond anything I can comprehend. I don't understand what's going on here. Because quite simply, I've never had a situation like this arise in NR 2003. So we're going to see here, the lights are going to go off on the pace car. Al Bunch, it still shows that he's pitting. He's not pitting. It's almost like they dropped to pit road too soon, and the game doesn't know. And there we go. It just black flagged all the drivers that it thought was supposed to be pitting. So your top four being shown the black flag here. Proverbial leader would then be Bradley Ream in fifth. Yeah, no, this is definitely by far a first for me with NR 2003. I am at a loss here, folks. Never have I had this problem at this Atlanta track before. So we might be careful. Some of those drivers might get suspended if they don't serve their penalty Since we know those four are black flagged right now, we're going to have to keep an eye on the front four and see how this all transpires. Well, at least it looks like the front four are going to get a breakaway here so that they serve the penalty. And we'll be just fine. They might get lucky and get some cautions to get back into this race. But for now, serving those black flags that NR so willingly handed out to 5 drivers there. So, new leader, Lewis Trost takes over in the 29 Chevrolet for Lone Star Motorsports. So we kind of get the shuffle button hit here tonight at Atlanta. Some new faces that we don't often see running at the front of the field here with Lewis Trost, Lynn Farrell, and Rich Roy. I'm thinking my game might just be possessed tonight, because even in the sprint qualifier, I was witnessing some very weird, odd occurrences. For example, it showed one car rolling around on the apron, and sometimes it doesn't give you a notification in the chat log if they're run out of fuel. But I tried to look, and I was like, what the heck? He's down 3 laps, and he's just coasting at the bottom of the track. Well, as soon as I tried to cycle backwards 1 lap, that's when the game decidedly crashed. And so before I even bothered to start this stream, I reset my computer 3 times, disabled startup processes in between on a couple of the startups, tried to figure out what other things I could minimize and free up pretty much computer RAM. And so here we are trying, after, well, 4 restarts basically, to see if we can have a trouble-free race. And it's not been a trouble-free race yet, because black flags marred the front of the field. Our fastest drivers, who is leading laps and putting down a lap down at the back half of the field. So still a very, very long race. A lot can happen. They're obviously going to need a little bit of caution fever to get their lap back and get back into the mix. But no one ever said any races come easy. That's why they're a race after all. Sometimes you just get dealt a bad hand, and you got to find a way to crawl out from the bottom. Well, if any of you are tuning in just now, you've missed quite the conundrum to start this race here today, as black flags were being handed out to our leaders during caution pit stops, and they have since been rifled to the back of the field, one lap down right now. Still a chance that they can get a wave around. Obviously in Sigma Racing we would wave around all 7 of those drivers that are 1 lap down and 2 laps down. And so they're just going to be hoping for a caution now to get back into the race. A lot of racing to be done here tonight. So a lot of opportunities to get back into this race. We're going to have to figure out what is making the Black Flag Goblin attack these drivers so fiercely here tonight. The only thing I can think of, it's a pit road miscue. If they enter pit road or speed on pit road in the wrong spot, that they're catching them and writing them up. So I guess we'll have to see if we get another round of caution pit stops. Jacob Shangle up to 4th with Dalton Scott trailing right behind him. Jimmy Logano looking to take the lead away from Rich Roy. Here we go, move for the lead as Jimmy Logano gets side by side with Rich Roy. Jimmy Logano on a very select basis here in the Cup Series. He's already won in Bridge to Cup and has been looking stout. Just unable to close the deal on a few races this season where he should have won a couple more. So he's only got 1 win in Bridge to Cup racing, but looking stout, running strong here tonight in the number 28 Avail Chevy for Jimmy Logano Racing. He's defending right now against Chaz Chadwick, whom has not seen victory in over a year. Did not get a race win last season. That might weigh a little bit heavily on his shoulders, hoping to get a win before it starts looking bad. Ewan What Army already opened the season with a win, so his teammate looking stout. Chaz Chadwick does not want to play second fiddle to his comrade in the number 1. And meanwhile, you've got Jacob Shangle in 3rd, Lucas Holmes in 4th, and Dalton Scott in his farewell campaign running in 5th. Although it might be the final season for Dalton Scott, that doesn't mean that he's going to lift the pedal. He's going to go full throttle all year long, trying to make up for lost time. He's missed a few seasons in our 15 years chronicled Sigma Cup racing. Was part-time last year, and finally getting to kind of close it out on a high note, finishing a full season campaign. Unfortunately, he's got to run the sprint qualifier to make each race. So he's already missed a couple races this year, but that has not slowed him down, as every race he makes, he's putting on a show. So in a way, it almost makes you think of back in the yesteryear when you had drivers, and the name's going to escape me here. Give me a moment. Oh, that's what I was thinking of Dave Pearson, who would obviously only make select starts. He wouldn't run a full season. And because of that, was always winning races that he hopped into. So Dalton Scott taking a page out of David Pearson to try and make limited starts, but win as many races as he can. Here we've got some lap traffic in the mix as that pushes Lucas Holmes up to first. Dalton Scott second, Chaz Chadwick third. We are slowly closing our way in on the 1/3 mark of tonight's race. And just a quick summary, it was Al Bunch out front leading from the beginning, having to serve a penalty after getting the black flag. He got dropped one lap down. So that big group that we had fighting for the win early have now been shuffled out of the mix, and we've seen some different faces running at the front of the field here tonight, and it's pretty interesting, I must say. Carson Bowers back in the mix as he's up to third here. Makes a move, goes down on the inside of the 15. Dalton Scott gets stuck up high. And we've got another lapped car in the mix here. Tyler Landa is only going 2 seconds off the pace, so he's not going to get the DQ flag. This race actually seems to be playing out kind of like any of our crown jewel races that are always kind of wild, crazy, and unpredictable. Everything's settling in for a nice long green flag run here right now. That first caution was kind of an odd one, and then we had back-to-back cautions with the drivers trying to serve their penalty from the way outside line, which will never work no matter how hard you try. It's like cutting across 5 lanes of traffic on the interstate highway. Good luck getting to the bottom, because there's probably at least 3 cars on the inside. Carson Bowers to the lead here. Rookie power looking strong here tonight as you've got Jimmy Logano in 4th as well. Rich Roy up in the top 10, having a great showing here tonight. Ooh, and here we have Kevin Xavier joining the front of the field, up to 13th now. That right there could be a good night for that 14 if he keeps up at the pace he's going. They have not seen success out of this new LFG Motorsports stable yet. Just a matter of time before things start clicking, and looks like tonight could be a wake-up call. Well, it looks like we've got scheduled pit stops here on lap 107. Oh, wait, there's a caution right when the 40 of Bowers dips down pit road. Oh, ow, the 7 of Tyler Lando is coming back out from pit stop and collects a couple drivers here. Man, it has been a tough day for Courting Brothers Motorsports, as that's another hit with the 95. Oh, Taden Berggren has been having a dream start to the season and unfortunately gets tangled up in that mess. Everyone else looks like they make it through. So this is that caution that our leaders from earlier were hoping for. And wait till they make their pit stop here, and then we'll give them the wave around. John Hagen out. We're almost at the 1 hour mark here in tonight's race. Yeah, that's a brutal, brutal accident that we just had there, taking out a few good drivers from the night. So honestly, it's been back-to-back weeks where we've had topsy-turvy, wild, weird races, because we experienced quite the weird race at Irwinsdale last week too. Alrighty, so we're all sorted back out here for the restart. Brief pause here to record. Save recording for the 1 hour mark. There we go. 1/3 of the way through the race, so likely 2 more hours left in the event here tonight. We'll have to see how wild and crazy this second half, or at least the 2/3 to go, get. Let's see if we have any black flags again. If I'm looking at that right, it might be black flagging everyone in the second half of the field. Nope, it recycled, so we're good. No, weird. I think our early leaders just made some bonehead mistakes to get shuffled out from the lead, it seems, because it's not a track problem. Seems like it might have been a driver error. Wild and crazy times here in the Sigma Cup Series, as always. And so, leading us back to the restart, it's going to be Rich Roy and Dalton Scott, followed by Chaz Chadwick and Louis Trost, Jimmy Logano and Jacob Shangle, Ewan What Army, and Carson Bowers. Even though he pitted, he still kept a top 10 out of it. So Nate Newman up in the top 10 as well. Pace car pulls off, and they're getting ready to re-roll them after our third caution subsides. Ooh, and the 71 did not get a good start there. He smoked the tires there. Rich Roy struggling a little bit. Forced the 18 to get shuffled up there. Now Louis Trost on the attack for the lead. It's been quite some time for Louis Trost hunting at the front of the field in these races. It seems like, oh, the 71 of Rich Roy's got some kind of a problem and he has to pull off track here. What a bummer for him. Don't know if he had a flat tire or fuel pickup issue, but he's pulling down pit road, unfortunately. Dang, we were seeing him put on a star-studded performance here tonight in that 71, and that's gonna stink to high hell for him. So in the meanwhile, Dalton Scott out with the lead, Louis Trost in second, Jacob Schengle third, and Jimmy Logano fourth, with Chaz Chadwick in the background there. Let's check in on Al Bunch and see, oh, and we have got caution fever here tonight, folks, or maybe not. They're not going to throw the caution for this wreck, evidently. 23 of Guido Piano gets run into by Maggie Reams. And I think because the car keeps running in the forward direction, they do not throw the caution here. Craziness, man. This definitely has the vibe of a crown jewel event here tonight at Atlanta. All these drivers kind of giving it their all and kind of driving over their heads for the most part. Here comes Al Bunch up into the top 25 now, as our previous leaders from the start of the race are starting to slowly work their way back up. Tom Cording, even with a contact with Eli the Wolf, has found himself up to 11th here. Rich Roy is about to go 2 laps down as the leaders catch up to him here. Ooh, Tasha Wright making another unscheduled pit stop here during the green flag run. Mechanical failure. She had some engine damage on that number 90. So it's just been a rough night for Tasha, unfortunately. Gets the lap back and then has a faulty engine. They might be able to get it fixed if it's something simple, but she's going to lose some laps again. Yep, Tasha's back out, so it must have been a pretty quick fix, like a plug wire or something. Okay, hopefully the 23 does not just cause a big-ass roadblock collision here. They're having to work their way on the outside of the 23. The one's going to dice below him. 3 wide with a lapped car in the middle. The damage on that 23 significant enough that we might have to keep an eye on him here if he's going to cause any kind of crash, chaos. We don't want that here on the race surface. Let everyone race around him, hopefully clear him up here and minimize track time lost for some of these leaders. But Guido Piano, man, only 1 second off the pace, so we'll keep him going here. We won't disqualify him for 1 second off the pace. Car definitely looks ugly. So now it's LFG Motorsports running 1-2 here on lap 124. The racing has definitely been top-notch here tonight, folks. As even with the caution sprinkled in, we've had some great fighting action for the lead here. Al Bunch is slowly working his way back up through the field after getting mired backwards with a black flag early on in the run. Back up into 21st, so he's made it halfway back through the field. But in the meantime, your top 4, a very unique cast of characters, as you've got You and What Army, who's won a race this season in Cup, followed by Jimmy Logano, who has a win in Bridge to Cup, with Braden Vargas still seeking his first career win, but with good competitive equipment, he could still find it here tonight, potentially. Chaz Chadwick seeking his first win in over a year, as well as Jacob Shangle, who had 4 wins last year, and Kevin Xavier kind of waking up, showing his strength here tonight up into the top 5. So it's been a great night for LFG Motorsports, as they've got 3 of their 5 cars in the top 10 at the moment. Now, the day is not over for Rich Roy, as Another caution could come out and give him one of his 2 laps back. Guido Piano 3 laps down. Tasha Wright 3 laps down. The 42 of Belafon 5 laps down. Currently out of the race, heartbreak for Taden Berggren, who has had one of the best starts of his career here in the Sigma Cup Series. Got caught up in a wreck not of his doing. Followed by John Hagan and Tyler Landa, all out of the race early in this one. Your final 3 spots on the field. Here we go. Braden Varga takes the lead away from You and What Army. Jimmy Logano up to second. Don't look now, folks, but another rookie meandering his way up to the front of the field as you've got Kevin Xavier fighting alongside his boss man there for 3rd position. Carson Bowers, also another rookie. We're seeing some strong rookies here tonight at Atlanta. Lap traffic's going to factor in again here. It looks like the 38 of Monty Shangle. Great run here from Braden Vargas so far. This season is still so young that there's so many crazy things that could play out here this year. The fact that You and What Army is off to an early points lead is just a small piece to the puzzle. We're looking at a huge resurgence in rookies within our Cup Series, especially with the charter system and the new rise of field fillers. Well, not necessarily field fillers, but extra drivers trying to qualify for the main events. And so it's kind of given us a breath of fresh air, seeing different drivers that we don't often see here in the Cup Series fighting for wins, fighting for positions. And a great example of that is Kevin Xavier, who had to come through the sprint qualifier to make the main event here tonight. Obviously, even with a win here, that ain't gonna get him a charter. The drivers that earned their charters from last year are locked into that charter through the entirety of 2025. So even if he wins here tonight, he's still going to have to come through the sprint qualifier next race. Got to imagine that that's some fuel for the fire, though, to get back in that form, to fight for wins, even if you're having to struggle your way through sprint qualifiers to make the main field. $185 laps remaining as we're 140 laps through the event. We're about 22 laps shy from halfway here tonight. There you have it. Kevin Xavier up to 3rd now. LFG Motorsports running 2nd, 3rd, and 6th. Unfortunately, Jack Davis failed to make the field, did not make it through the sprint qualifier for LFG Motorsports. And so the only other driver not in the top 10 for the team is Chris Harvey, who we saw out front earlier in the race. Seems like Chris Harvey has settled back in the field a little bit. Not too far in the back. Chris Harvey currently 15th, so all 4 of the LFG cars racing here tonight in the top 15. are under caution here again tonight. And we're going to figure out what the caution is for. Well, when all else fails, point your magnifying glass at Jack Ross, because there's almost always shenanigans around the 00 car. Seems like we were wrong, though. No shenanigans out of Jack Ross this time. Ooh, there we go. Oh, this was amongst our leaders. Wow, Liz Shangle from 6th. She gets bombarded by the 29 of Louis Trost here going into turn 3. Very similar to what we saw out of Guido Piano just getting dumped. Ooh, Tasha misses Liz there by inches. Holy cow. Well, that is what brings out our next caution here tonight. Alrighty, so we're going to get back and rolling here just shy of halfway as Braden Varga and Ewan Woodarmy will lead the rest of the field back to the restart. No black flag, but the pace car obviously did not did not step down pit road. Gosh, what the hell is wrong with NR2003 tonight, folks? They just jumped the pace car. What in the actual hell? Yep, there we go. Black flags to our leaders for jumping the pace car. Go figure. Why? Of all the things in the world, no, and they're wrecking because of it. Oh, and they are trashing cars in the background. They are destroying each other out there. Holy cow, man. What in the world? What in the world? So our leader's serving their black flag right now. Jeez. Only in NR 2003, folks. Only in NR 2003. Damn, Carson Bowers, his car gets demolished. Damn. So, this all started when we had people cutting down pit road to serve their black flag penalty. Al Bunch gets into the 50 of Tom Cording. That hits the 40 of Carson Bowers. Tyler Shangle involved. The 45. Ooh. It is just utter pandemonium carnage. Look at Tasha Wright blow through again. She's had some very marquee moves here tonight. There's so many angles that we can try to follow this wreck. It's insanity. Bam! Yeah, 35's day's done. You can literally see all the debris flying through the air as they come crunching through. What a wild and wacky race here tonight. I've never seen anything like this in NR 2003 in my entire existence of running this game. That's a perfect shot right there. Crazy. So, let's just also take a look at Tasha's in-car cam. As the wreck starts happening. I would give her an A++ for wreck avoidance there. Insanely good wreck avoidance. Well, Braden Varga, Ewan Wood Army served their penalty. Ewan Wood Army might not have made it to pit road in time. It still shows that he has to serve a black flag penalty. So we'll see if that's gonna change or not. So Tasha's back on the lead lap, and she's now up to 26th place. let's actually follow along on the chase cam of your defending champion, Al Bunch, as he made a pretty bad bonehead mistake here, running into the 50. Damn. Monty and Liz both just came in there at the wrong place, the wrong time. And I want to watch Eli the Wolf and see just how he makes the problem that he had here happen. Damn. Well, we're officially looks to be at halfway. And a lot of those drivers still have to serve their black flag, it looks like. 163 laps in, 162 laps to go. And it took us halfway through the race to have half the field get knocked out. That does not happen very often at all. Tyler Aspinall, Carson Bowers, Jack Ross, Eli the Wolf, Lucas Holmes out of the race. Followed by the 22 of Trevor Walker, 38 of Monty Shangle, the 95 of Fireball Robert, 34 of Maggie Reams, the 35 of Dave Steele Jr., the 67 of Liz Shangle, the 23 of Guido Piano, the 43, 88, and the 7, whom were already out. So now Chaz Chadwick up to the lead here over Jacob Shangle. Yep, and those are your black flag pits again. I think they've finally served their penalty. So they're going to need a caution to get back into this as well. Nice part is half the field's wiped out, so good luck for them to get back into this and still have a fighting chance at looking for a win here. And cautions are definitely still prone to happen, so Kevin Xavier up to the lead. Jimmy Logano in second. Bradley Ream in third. If this hasn't been a welcome treat for the hiatus that we've been on here in the Sigma Cup Series, I don't know what is. This has been wild, crazy, and it's had a little bit of everything. Some great racing, some chaos and carnage. Just a whole lot of WTF moments here, and only adds to the mystique of getting the win here at Atlanta. Truly has a rebellious feel for being the Rebel 500 around Atlanta. Not many races this year have we had 5 caution flags throughout the running of one of these cup races. So this is a bit of an anomaly here, and we're in some rare air as a lot of the races this season have gone clean and pretty much controversy. Not very controversial. There have been some controversial races this year, though. But I wouldn't really lump this one into a controversial race. It's just been a weird one, a wild one. All these drivers had basically an extra week off that they had not anticipated, and they came out here raring and ready to win some races. Kevin Xavier gets shuffled out of the lead as Jimmy Logano leads over Chaz Chadwick. See Kara Shangle up into the top 5 now, so you have another husband-wife pairing running towards the front of the field at the moment. I honestly don't know why my frame rate's so bad. I'm doing my stream and the thing says that it's dropped 23% of the frames. So that's not ideal. And I don't know if it has anything to do with my computer been acting up here lately, but those of you that are watching, thank you very much. It has been a strange one. Weird, wild, and wacky. Still a great race on hand. Dang, Chris Harvey still running, even though he got tangled up in the wreck a little bit earlier. Ouch. Kevin Xavier went from leading all the way back to 15th. That's a pretty drastic drop outside of the top 5. Definitely past midnight on the East Coast, and it's only 9:40 Pacific Standard Time for me. Some of y'all probably wake up tomorrow with a lot of pings on their Discord, or it's just going to be one of those situations where this race may not have had the views that it deserved, but it's truly going to be one for the record books here tonight. Kellen Relic up into the top 5 now. Trevor Vaden in the rookie on a rampage, number 19, also moving towards the front. And also see Dalton Scott getting back into the picture. Brian DeBlanc, after having a bit of a off segment in the race, coming back for the second half stronger than he was. Braden Varga about to go 2 laps down here. As I've already mentioned before, definitely not the end of the night. He could still hold on and wait for cautions to get the lead lap back. Well, Jimmy Logano doing a pretty top chop job leading the way here over Chaz Chadwick and Jacob Shangle. As Dalton Scott now up into 4th. Louis Tross back up into the top 5. Kellen Relic, Trevor Vaden, Andre Stefan, Bradley Ream, and Kevin Xavier, followed by Lynn Farrell and Brian DeBlank. Kara Shangle, Nate Newman, Tom Cording, who has been a ping pong ball out there tonight, involved in multiple crashes, but still out here running in the top 15. Tristan Reams, Cooper Dwight, Jordan Walker, Chris Harvey, with some lap traffic there of Tasha Wright. Seems like her car is not happy. Must have got a little bit of damage in that caution that we last saw where she missed it by inches. But sometimes even missing it by inches, you don't catch the minute damage that ends up getting caused to your car. Well, there's another calm here after the midway point, after all the crazy shenanigans that happened right before halfway. And I guess now would be a good enough time to just take another Sigma side-by-side break, folks, so stick around. So Braden Varga is desperately hoping for a caution here pretty quickly so he can get some wave arounds. He's still fighting to stay on the lead lap, or at least one lap instead of 2 laps down. Here we go. Jacob Shangle takes the lead away from Jimmy Logano there. That might be the first laps. No, it's the 6th lap led here tonight for Jacob Shangle. But not very many, still in the single-digit category. Al Bunch looks like he's led most laps here tonight, even though he's mired backwards at the moment. Jimmy Logano trying to catch up to Al Bunch's lap lead total. He got a little bit more laps to lead before he catches up to Al Bunch, and there's plenty of laps to do so. With 130 laps to go, this is the pretty much the 2/3 mark we're closing in on. And that final third of the race, it's pretty much anyone's guess, as the first 2/3 have been a crapshoot for some drivers. Al Bunch about to go a lap down here. Jimmy Logano leading some more laps. This is going to keep the lead lap tally going in the positive direction for Mr. Jimmy Logano. Not very often that we see Bridge to Cup drivers stepping up the ladder to make select Cup starts like this that we're seeing with Jimmy Logano. And Jimmy Logano already won a race. He won the season opener for Bridge to Cup this year. He's raring and ready to get up into Cup. And obviously Sigma won't allow an immediate jump without reasoning. So if he starts rolling out and winning races like this, he could be maybe full-time Cup halfway through the year here. Who knows? Then, of course, you've got the charter situation, which he would still have to make his way through the sprint qualifiers. But his schedule might become a little bit looser, allowing him to make more Cup starts. We'll just have to see how this pans out. The new clause that had been put together just recently in the last month, the Atlee Weiss clause, bringing a driver that's up the ladder, the fast track clause that was made popular by Atlee Weiss. And yeah, we already see our first recipient of the fast track clause in play, with Tasha Wright getting upgraded to full-time status here in the Cup Series. She had a very unique situation since she already had a chartered ride. It was mostly based on her success and her good finishes right out of the gate. The Sigma officials decided it was best to let her keep running in the Cup Series full time. Jimmy Logano's wins in Sigma racing have been interesting, as he got his first career win in his first career start at Pocono. Got the first win this year at Armory Digital Superspeedway. And so with Atlanta, that would make a third different track size that he's potentially, we won't count those eggs before they've hatched here tonight, of course. But he's having a good run. And it's a matter of time before he makes it up to Cup here full-time, fighting for wins like he is in Bridge to Cup right now. Lap traffic causing a little bit of helter-skelter here. 3 wide with Braden Varga on the inside. Jacob Schenkel giving that 9-car one a hell of a push. The next race on the Cup schedule is Fontana, where we'll go race the Wild West 350. And then our break, where we won't be back in action until April. The other races left to run within Sigma Racing, we do have the Lakeside event for Bridge to Cup, which will then put us on break until April 1st for them as well. And ARCA, all we've got to run until the break is Portland, which then it'll be a break till April 10th for the ARCA series. Trucks has put a neat little ribbon on their charge that we saw in the marathon just a week ago. And Matthew Fastnot, with 3 consecutive wins, gets to settle in for a well-earned early season break here. Current points leader, 3 wins in a row. Next race that he tackles, he'll be seeking 4 in a row, which has not really been done all that much in the truck series. We have seen it happen in Bridge to Cup. We have seen it happen in Cup. Actually, we saw it happen in Cup with Al Bunch winning 5 in a row. So, Trucks is still the one series that we have not seen a 4-peat back to back to back to back. Wishing Matthew Fastnot best luck in the next race when they tackle Pikes Peak next for the West Division on April 8th. So, Jimmy Logano leading the way still over Chaz Chadwick, Jacob Shangle, and now Trevor Vaden and Dalton Scott up into the top 5 fighting for position. This has been some of the best racing that we could have asked for here tonight from Atlanta, as you still have about 6 cars within the lead group here, all capable of getting the win tonight. Jimmy Logano has swept away, led most laps at this point, knocking Al Bunch out of the honorary position for that bonus at the end of the night. Now we are officially 2/3. As I said, we were approaching it. We have now passed it. 1/3 of the race remains here tonight. Well, it seems like my internet has stabilized a little bit. Frame rates are looking a little clearer for everyone. 2 hours into the event here tonight, and we have seen some weird and wacky racing here from Atlanta. A lot of takers down pit road here. Green flag pit stop cycling through at 110 laps to go. This might actually be the first round of green flag pit stops we've had here tonight, as we've had so many cautions to kind of break up the monotony of a long green flag run. Well, here's going to be your new battle for the lead, as it's going to be Jimmy Logano, Jacob Schenkel, and Dalton Scott, your top three. After 2/3 of the race, we finally get ourselves a nice long green flag run here. Now you got Jacob Schenkel in the Genesis number 64 leading the way over Dalton Scott and Jimmy Logano. Dalton Scott peaks on the inside here, the 64 making a move, holds off for now. 64 keeps the position. Honestly, Louis Trost, I think, might need to be considered as a contender this year, as it seems to be a resurgence for that 29 team coming back into the mix. He's up to 4th and closing the gap on our lead 3 at the moment. Lap traffic might hold him up just a tad, but Brian DeBlanc back up into the top 5, followed by Chaz Chadwick and Trevor Vaden. This race is only getting more and more interesting as the night goes on. Quite a few drivers right now trapped a lap down, not seeing the caution they've been desperately hoping for. As we're about to get into the double digits of laps left to go here tonight. 100 laps to go right now. Oh, Jimmy Logano tried to make a move on the 64, but could not execute there. As you've got a Genesis, a Chevy, and a Jaguar running 1, 2, 3. A little bit further back, the next Chevy would be the 29 there of Louis Trost, and the Toyota of Trevor Vaden. So surely there's going to be at least one more round of pit stops before the end of this race here. With 93 laps to go, all the drivers' teams are going to have to start planning when to make that last pit stop. So for Jimmy Logano's schedule in the Sigma Cup Series, you will get to see him at all the crown jewel and marquee events on the calendar. And so next time we'll see him in just a couple races time when he hits Homestead. And then we'll see him at Chicagoland, the Coke 600, the 777 Annual from Vegas, the Calvin Steele Memorial at Kentucky, the 8-Ball Annual from 8 Bull Superspeedway, Darlington with the Southern 500. He gets to come race at Pocono in the Cup car, returning to a track he's won in Bridge to Cup. Then you'll get to see him at the Rock Annual 400, the Music Fest Grand Prix, the Dusty Shangle 534 from Talladega, and the Indy 550 to close out the season. So 15 races in total for Mr. Jimmy Logano. And it's going to be interesting to see with a race like here tonight how that's going to transpire to the other races. Closing in on the lead group, you've got Chaz Chadwick and Trevor Vaden making their moves up into the top 3. Breakaway with the top 2 as Jimmy Logano and Dalton Scott start to stretch it out here. Well, 72 laps to go, and it has been a roller coaster race here tonight with a lot going on. It'd be a race very much worth skimming through some other time if you didn't get the chance to see it all in its completion. It is a long race. It's probably going to right about at the eclipse of 3 hours here tonight. Maybe 2.5, but it'll be close to 2.5, maybe 3 hours. And yeah, there's been some weird wrecks. There were some black flags getting thrown out at drivers jump in the start, illegal pit stops. I mean, pretty much everything you could have baked up here tonight somehow transpired with the Sigma Cup Series. We saw some very unveteran-esque mistakes made by veteran drivers. Your defending champion Al Bunch pretty much involved in a wreck that took out half the field right at about halfway here tonight. And there we have Dalton Scott jump into the lead. Dalton Scott has a win this season already, being his farewell tour and all that. He would love to rack up some extra wins and tamp his overall win status in the number of wins achieved category. And the fact that we got Jimmy Logano and Dalton Scott fighting for the win here tonight says a lot for the depth of our talent, as these are two drivers that haven't even started every cup race here. They are simply trying to make as many starts as possible in cup, and fighting for wins they are. So it's crazy to see two drivers that are not really in the championship mix as of 5 races in. This, early in the season like this could change a lot of trajectories. We know for certain Jimmy Logano, he's going to stick to the big races here in the Sigma Cup Series. So, like I said, your marquee events and your crown jewel races, those are where we're going to see him step out of the Bridge to Cup spotlight and try to fight with the best of the best here in Cup. .65 laps remaining. We are getting down to the nitty-gritty now. Everyone is going to have at least one more pit stop here tonight. A lot of drivers desperately hoping for another late race caution so that they can get kind of bunched back up and fight for the win from outside the top 5. As we saw half the field get knocked out at about halfway, we haven't seen a lot of cautions since then. They've pretty well kept it clean, calm, and calculated. But we're just, we're one caution away from this race turning into another wild card finish with unpredictability at the wheel. I mean, your current top 2 is about as unpredictable as it could have gotten. I don't think anyone could have forecasted Dalton Scott and Jimmy Logano fighting for the win at the end here in Atlanta, after 400 miles have come and gone. Rich Roy had a promising night. It went south after a late, unexpected pit stop for that 71 team, putting him behind the queue. As he's currently 1 lap down right now, he's about to go a 2nd lap down, and that'll only make the night harder for him with the limited laps left to fight back. Here comes Jimmy Logano again on the attack for the lead. Side by side as they go through turns 2 and now onto the backstretch. Jimmy Logano gets the lead away from Dalton Scott. Ewan Wood Army in the 1 is a lap down, so that is not a fight for position, as he's actually 3 laps down. He's had to make some extra pit stops to put him that far behind. Perhaps maybe he made a early pit stop though to get off schedule, so we'll have to see how that one fares if this race stays green, as he races back around to get one of his 3 laps back. Now only 2 laps down to the leaders. Braden Varga making a move on the inside of Jimmy Logano. That would put him back to just 1 lap down. And so many of these drivers still desperately hanging on to hope that we could get a caution before the end of this one. Whoa, and that might have just been the caution that everyone was hoping for. Dalton Scott gives Jimmy Logano one hell of a bump there. It didn't happen, but holy cow, could it have. That would have been a very controversial move. You know, we're going to start seeing all these controversial moves racking up in the Sigma Cup Series. Or Sigma Arca, just Sigma Racing in general. These drivers are not afraid to put their wheel where it does not belong. Well, in the meantime, as your top two have continued to slowly keep the lead away from the rest of the field, looks like Trevor Vaden would be the next in line running third. And maybe with some pit strategies here, we could see him kind of shake up towards the front here. We did see Al Bunch take a trip down pit road, so that means that likely we're going to start seeing green flag pit stops here soon. I guess I kind of mistook that. Chaz Chadwick's in position too, so that's for third with Chaz Chadwick and Trevor Vaden, followed by Jacob Shangle, Tom Cording, Louis Trost, Brian DeBlanc, Bradley Ream, and Lynn Farrell. Kevin Xavier's settled into 11th at the moment. Kellen Relic in 13th, Kara Shangle in 14th. And more takers down pit road. So when are we going to see Dalton Scott, Jimmy Logano, and the rest come down pit road for what would be their final pit stop of the evening? Fastest lap tonight belongs to Kevin Xavier after he did lead a pretty good chunk from halfway on. We have not seen a caution since halfway, though, so that's kind of what's shaking things up here with the long green flag runs. We are seeing pit strategy play out. Now, this is a bit of the danger zone here, as many times people going on and off pit road, cautions happen with exit or entry to pit roads. So some of the drivers still out there might be careful not to stay out too long. Here we go. 64 comes down pit road. The 18 of Chaz Chadwick sticking it out a little longer though. But also part of that danger zone is you're out there on older tires turning slower laps while the drivers that are pitting before you come in, get fresher tires, and they're able to get back to fast laps quicker, and that puts a deficit up. I mean, Chaz Chadwick might have just lost 2 seconds to the lead because of his decision to pit later. Often traffic factors into, you might have your leaders get back out and be stuck behind slow traffic, and that could be a huge benefactor for Chaz Chadwick to keep it interesting at least. Chadwick at least has the second pit stall here, so that helps significantly on pit exit. As we're watching the background here, there's the 87 of Kellen Relic coming down. Dalton Scott, Jimmy Logano now at the start-finish line. They're coming into turn one right there. And Chadwick is going to get shuffled back to third. Maybe fourth. There we go. Fourth. Fifth. And he'll be lucky to stay in sixth here. Does have the advantage of fresher tires for longer in the final run here. So we'll see if the rubber band stretches back in his favor. But in the meantime, the lead will shuffle back around to Dalton Scott and Jimmy Logano as your top two. Kellen Relic and Kara Shangle stretched it out as long as they could before making their final pit stop. More of a last-ditch effort, hoping for a caution, staying out as long as they could, seeking one of those cautions to fall their way, and it did not. So Dalton Scott leads and gets stuck behind some lap traffic here. That's going to allow Jimmy Logano to close the window, and a fight for the lead brewing right here on the front stretch. Lap traffic is a dangerous place to be sometimes, and Dalton Scott may just have to examine his drawers after the race, after that move. Settles right back in behind Jimmy Logano, and I don't think he's going to settle for second here, as he's going to try to make the passover maneuver. Gets alongside the 28, fighting back for the lead, and here we go. The back and forth battle. This is exciting. We have had quite the race here tonight. Next in line would be third place Jacob Shangle, and he's quite a ways back as he's just now passing the start-finish line, and they're in the middle of turn 1 and 2. "46 laps is still a pretty decent chunk here tonight, as the green flag duration is really stretched on for the longest it is run here this evening. First half the race was marred by 5 cautions and half the field getting wiped out. Bizarre black flag situations, wild mistakes made by drivers you don't often see making mistakes. That's what you get when you come and run the Rebel 500. It's been a staple of the Sigma series pretty much since its inception. We had hosted a race called the Rebel. The duration has changed a little bit here and there, but this is the original Rebel 500 from Atlanta. Ooh, the 56 out of fuel. Looks like they're going to have to call a tow truck. He ran out of fuel earlier trying to push it as far as he could. Could that possibly bring out a caution if they deem him stalled right in the racetrack? They're going to come back around, and we're going to see him stalled on the pitch, right on the apron there. Are they going to call the caution? Is it a tow truck that's going to have to come save the 56? There's no yellow flag waving in the air yet. And they did get the tow truck. No, he's still rolling. Holy cow, how long is he going to roll? 39 laps to go, and it's just a ticking time bomb as to whether or not we're going to get a caution. It's like the little train that could. He keeps on chugging, just rolling ever so slightly. I've never seen anything like this. Tonight has been the weirdest night of racing for NR2003 I've ever seen. We've seen black flags handed out to drivers for no reason, no explainable reason at all. We saw drivers jump the restart and pass the pace car, which also resulted in a black flag. Ooh, and that might be merit for a caution. If that car gets sideways on the track, they usually throw a caution. There we have it. 38 laps to go, and we get a late race caution. This stacks everything back up. We're going to be looking at about a 34-lap shootout here tonight, folks. Alrighty, folks. Everyone now with a fresh shot at trying to get the win here tonight. One more shot at victory here in Atlanta for the Rebel 500. As they're going to have Dalton Scott and Jimmy Logano resetting the race here tonight. Jacob Shangle, Trevor Vaden, Lewis Trost, and Tom Cording. Chaz Chadwick and the 14 of Kevin Xavier. Lynn Farrell, Bradley Ream, Tristan Reams, Brian DeBlanc, Cooper Dwight, Kellen Relic, Kara Shangle, Tyler Shangle, Matthew Fastnot, Braden Varga, Rich Roy, Chris Harvey, Ewan Wood Army, Al Bunch, and Jordan Walker. I really hope that this is not another caution waiting to happen with these three all bunched together here. Pace car is off. We're going to get back and rolling, hopefully, for one final dash to the finish. Late race caution because of a stalled car on the racetrack, bringing out that caution. Jimmy Logano right to the lead here. Cuts down in front of Dalton Scott. Here we're going to have, it looks like Lewis Trost going low. Finally, we've got multiple cars all within shot of winning the race now as Lewis Trost cuts up to third. Chaz Chadwick, Lynn Farrell. Man, there's a lot of names that we don't often see fighting for the wins here. Dalton Scott goes low on Jimmy, but Jimmy holds the line. Chaz Chadwick goes underneath the 29, making a move for third. This is where it's going to get interesting, folks, as all these drivers start to lobby for position. Some of the drivers have been trapped a lap down all day, finally with another shot to fight for the win. I'm thinking about drivers like Braden Varga, or even the likes of Ewan Wood Army, who had been trapped a lap down. They're back in the mix now with a shot, a very solid shot to get the win. Jimmy Logano, Chaz Chadwick, Lynn Farrell, 1, 2, 3. Then you got Dalton Scott and Jacob Shangle, Kara Shangle, Ewan Wood Army, Kellen Relic, and Tristan Reams. It's about 8 cars all with a shot at winning it right now. 56 going back down pit road again. He could be a ticking time bomb for another caution before this thing's over. And here we go. Chaz Chadwick to P1. The good push from Dalton Scott. You got the Honda Accord leading. You got Jaguar up to second. And not long for Honda leading as Jaguar takes the lead away. Genesis up to second now. Toyota, Chevy, Honda, Jaguar, Dodge, Chevy. Man, there's all kinds of parity at the front of the field here. Dalton Scott cruising away now as he's got a pretty steady lead. Jimmy Logano shuffling way back now. This is not what he wanted to see. Rich Roy up into the top 10 after getting trapped a lap down. Another driver who's going to have a resurgence at the end of the race. Kevin Xavier staying on the low side as well. Oh, going high. He's going to try to go to the high side. Maybe gets a little bit of draft off his team owner there. Makes a move and gets up into the top 10 with that steady move there. That was quite the transition. 3 wide, 4 position as Kevin Xavier sticks it in there. And now he's up into the top 7, it looks like. As so many things change from week to week. It looks like What Army's still putting on what he needs to do to fight for the win here tonight. All I see is the 56 on pit road, so I don't know what problems he's got, but it is not looking good for him. Wow, What Army now up to second. Your current points leader continuing to tamp on the points in his favor. Now we're down to about 22 laps to go here for the Rebel 500 from Atlanta. It has been 500 miles of hardcore racing here tonight, and anyone who can come out on top of this race has definitely earned it. I still would not factor out anyone behind Dalton Scott right here. All it's going to take is Dalton to make one minor mistake, and the other drivers will be able to pounce. Rich Roy's resurgence after getting trapped laps down. Up to fourth. Ooh, and he's under attack here by the 78 of Bradley Ream. The good push from the 14 of Kevin Xavier. No, Kevin Xavier gets hung out to dry here as he was not able to find the opening inside lane for his advantage. Drops back to about 10th there, it looks like. 20 laps to go, and Dalton is going to have to hold off a hard-charging What Army. Either way, one of these two drivers at the front of the field would be getting their second win of the season. Dalton Scott got the win earlier this year at Brands Hatch, and What Army got the season opener at Armory Digital Super Speedway. Even going a couple spots back, Bradley Reams searching for his second win of the season as he won the Daytona 500. And the only other driver with a win was Matthew Fastnot, who won the race at Irwindale last time out. So you look and you appreciate all the parity, but at the same time, it seems like there's always the select few drivers that find a way to win all the time. So parity often gets overruled by finishing results. It's crazy how that works, right? There we go. What Army takes the lead with 17 laps to go over Dalton Scott. Dalton now with a chance to recover and try to recoup, fight for the win from second here. And the more the leads swap hands, the more that the drivers behind them will start to catch up, close the gap. So they better be careful. I mean, while they're racing each other, they still got to race the other 10 drivers that are close on their tail. Dalton looks like he's going to try to catch up and rubber band around the number one. As you watch, he closes up on the back bumper of this number one Honda. And it's going to give him an opportunity to pounce. The opening not quite there yet, but he's minding his manners, waiting for the best time to make it happen. Apart from Jacob Schenkel in third there, we would have 3 of our 4 winners in the top 3. We do have them in the top 4. 3 of the 4 in the top 4. Unfortunately for Matthew Fastnut, not going to have a decent finish here today after struggling at the back half of the field here tonight. And ultimately getting tangled up in a wreck not of his doing, so. Man, Dalton he is hunting that back bumper of the number 1. Just playing chin music there, playing the flute on the number 1. But of course, in the meantime, that 64 car really close. 78 very much in a position. 71, don't count him out either. All these drivers eager to get a win here. And all they got to do is find a way around the number 1. Which is easier said than done. As soon as Dalton, if he's able to, get side by side with you and What Army, that could make this race very, very interesting within the last 10 laps. Oh, and now you've got lap traffic factoring in here as well. So What Army probably throwing his Hail Marys here, hoping desperately that the traffic gets out of his way. Of course, this has got to be the race with lap traffic shenanigans. It's been everything else tonight. Why not lap traffic finishing it out? Dalton Scott going for the lead here, getting it from you and What Army before even catching the lap traffic. Now Dalton is going to have to be lucky breaks with the lap traffic, and he does not get a lucky break there as the 42 holds him up. 8 laps will remain as they come across the start-finish line. What Army makes a move, bold move down low. Dalton Scott stays in the middle lane. That's not going to be ideal to keep the lead. And quite honestly, that's going to lose Dalton Scott second place as Jacob Schenkel is going to be on the attack to take that position away. Oh, and the lap traffic cuts off the 64. That is dirty pool. The only advantage for the 64 is that the one gets further away without the draft, and that could play a factor in the rubber band effect for that number 64 as he gets the draft. It's really going to come down to a couple cars here at the end, it looks like. Whereas we had about 4 or 5 cars fighting for the win, it might be down to about 3 or 4. Dalton Scott managed to recover in 4th there. Braden Varga up into the top 5 for what I think might be his first time in the top 5 here tonight. 6 laps remaining. And who's going to get the job done? Lap time for Jacob, that lap was a 27.8 compared up to What Army's 27.9. So he got way too far out in the lead and lost a lot of draft. He's going to be dealing with the lap traffic here of Al Bunch. And Jacob Schenkel just trying to catch back up to the back bumper of What Army. Lap time this time around was a 28.0 for What Army. 28.0 for Jacob Schenkel. So there's a Bit of a plateau now that they have gotten into the same draft of each other. No more lap traffic. It is going to come down to a race for the finish between What Army, Jacob Shangle, Rich Roy, and Dalton Scott. Here comes Braden Varga too as he gets around the lap traffic. He's starting to close the window up on the top 4. That was a slower lap for Mr. Shangle there as What Army starting to stretch it out a little bit. 3 laps to go. Keep your eyes on the flagman. Make sure that this race goes to the finish. If you see the white flag, that means it's game over. 1 more lap to go. Now that lap, Jacob Shangle is just a hair faster than you and What Army. Now we are down to 2 laps to go. And I don't know if we're going to see any late race heroics out of the 64 camp, as What Army seems to pretty much be out front cruising with it. And we're going to see the white flag wave. It's going to be 1 lap to go for the number 1 car. No lights on the pace, or no caution lights out, so this race is official with 1 more lap to go. You and What Army looking to get his 2nd win of the season. And your current points leader nonetheless. No one's going to have anything for him as he comes roaring around turn 4 here at Atlanta. For the Rebel 500, he gets the job done here tonight. Man, what a roller coaster race here we had tonight, folks. Had absolutely everything you could have asked for in a race. And to cap it off, you and What Army, your current points leader, just stretching out that points lead even more. So crazy, crazy night of racing. Welcome back to Sigma Cup Series Racing. Wouldn't have it any other way. Well, and thanks again, folks, for tuning in. I know this was a long haul race. Our crown jewel and marquee events are always the lengthier ones. On to the next race, which will be a little bit shorter, a little bit more bite-sized fractions for those watching. So yeah, thanks everyone. Have a wonderful weekend. We'll try to get a couple more of those races brought to you before my vacation comes up here. So with that, everyone, we'll see you on the next one. This is Jakester signing out.